Okay, so we are in the end of week 3. Still looking for a few people today. We'll see if they show up. Okay. Our topic for the day is image views that are the image changes. So we're going to have a spinner where you can choose, in this first example, where you choose a breed of dog and then an image view that's going to show you that picture of that breed of dog. And I'm going to use basically Kotlin's version of a switch statement, which is the when statement to do it the first time around, and that I find a little bit dissatisfying. And then I'm going to do it in version 2, where I'm going to, the resources, that the image files are drawable resources, and I'm going to work with the names of the dogs to manipulate them into the names of the resources, and then use it, do it that way. So get rid of the big switch statement, get rid of the when. And then in the final one, I'm going to work with some simple parallel arrays and display information. So not just show the picture of the breed, but display a little information about the breed. And then what you have to do is just same thing, but not dogs. So whatever you're into. So cats or what's that?
I said lions.
Lions, okay. Big cats. You can do cats or big cats. Or sports or actors or whatever you're into. Anime characters, and I don't know. Most of what you're into, I'm not into, so I don't know. Anyway. So that's what's on the agenda for today. This lecture usually goes pretty fast, but I will start by asking if you have any questions or up here on the recording. So should be more time than I usually have in this class with this section for questions after sort of private me come around and answer them. But if you have any questions you want me to answer up here on a recording, ask away. That seems like no. All right. So, dog 1. Let me start up with somebody. So let me start with the dog 1. There's the files for dog 1. And I'm also going to, I've posted files that are just 2 images. And so this is where those images will go in the resources, the res drawable. That's where I'll put all those pictures of dogs. And then over here, this is my activity_main. This is what I usually refer to as my design or my layout. And you see that when I have some attribute that is one of the drawable resources, I don't have the file extension. And close that. And then I'm going to have my array is going to be a resource array. So when we worked with spinners previously, we had resource arrays and code arrays, and I'm going to be working today with a resource array, and that was in my strings folder. So I'm going to load them up into a project. Let me start a new project. empty project. I'll call it dog day. Okay. Call it dog day afternoon, but never mind. Okay. So I need also those files. 3 of them are text files. And I'm going to open them up in Notepad++. So then I can copy them over once. And then I just made this guy fresh. So remember, I'm in the lab. If I were on my computer, the 31 would be okay, but it's not okay here. So I'm changing the 31s to 30s and syncing. Okay. And I'm going to copy, highlight all, Control A, Control C. I'm going to copy over the layout, put the layout into code, and paste it in there. So that was one thing I copied over. I'm going to copy the strings array. I already have a resources. I already have this values. I already have this strings under values, but I'm going to add that array. So open string array, close string array, the name is dogs, and here are my items. Just names of dogs. Okay, so that was another thing I copied. And then here's my main activity. So I'm going to copy everything but the package. And paste it over this, everything but the package. Paste, paste, paste. There it is, paste. Okay. And I was complaining about the drawable resources because I haven't copied over the images yet. So they're going to go here in drawable. So that should be in my downloads. Here's my dogs. I want, I'm going to delete those. I've already done with them, and I'm going to take all my dogs, copy them, and I'm going to right click here in drawable and paste. Okay, so I have now my activity main. When I go over, it yells at me for some things. If I go over to design, I can, for me, more easily figure out what it's yelling for at me about. And I think most of these right now are the hard-coded things. So I have an image view. I have a text view that says select a dog. That is the label for the spinner. And then I have the spinner. Okay. And I have my dog pictures in drawable. I have my main activity main copied over. I added to the strings my resource dog array, and I have in main activity my code. Okay, so that's me just reconstructing this project. And now let me run it. It's very exciting. You pick a dog and it shows you a picture of the dog. So this is going to pop up soon, maybe. I connect in code to the interface. So I had something called IV dog. You know that I like to use a prefix that says what kind of thing it is. IV is ImageView. And then another part of the name that says what it's about. So this one has something to do with the dog. So it's IV dog. It's an image view, and I give it the same name as the ID. I have a spinner, which is SP dog. And to load up a spinner, I use an array adapter. there are two ways we've learned so far to work with array adapters. One is from a resource array and one is from a code array. My array is a resource array. So this is the version of an array adapter working with a resource array. Here's my resource array, r.array.dogs. That goes over here in values to strings. And that the name of that string array was dogs. I lost my content manager. There we are. Okay. So here it is. There's bulldog. There's the Old English sheepdog. There's the boxer. Okay. So I'm here connecting to the interface, connecting to the interface using the array adapter, using the resource array version of the array adapter, and then using that array adapter to populate my spinner. That's how I got the names of the dogs in the box, in the spinner. Then the main spinner event is this on item selected listener. There are two methods, one when you choose an item and one when you don't. And I have always left that one blank, but it usually wants me to have it, so I put it there and leave it blank. Here is my spinner. It has, this is the main method for the spinner. It has arguments of the adapter view, the view, an integer and a long. So the view, this second argument, is it shows you, it displays for you when you open this up different dogs, and each dog is in a little view. So that's what this is. That's not the whole spinner. That is the choice that the user made. So that's the second argument. And so then I can get its text and convert that to a string. So this would be boxer or old sheepdog or whatever it is. Okay. The I is the index. So if I want to work with an array, I know its index. And I think long is a copy of index, but sort of as a long rather than as an integer. Okay, so here I am just toasting it out. Oh, that reminds me. I had somebody, I think it was in the other class, was having an issue displaying a toast. And then I had my own problems displaying a toast. And if that were to happen, first you check your code for the toast. But if you think you've looked at your code and you've looked at your code and it looks right, under AVD manager, you can wipe the data. So it's like it's like wiping your phone, getting a new phone. So it will deal with issues. You don't want to do it very often because it slows you down, because it's like you're starting for the first time ever on your simulated phone. But if something that should be working isn't working, then that might be a place to fix it. Another approach is to have multiple AVDs and to switch AVDs. So I've seen people also do that. Okay, so I'm in the select on item selected listener. I'm in the on selected method. I know which one they chose. And now I have this when, which is a version like in other languages, you would call it a switch. And then if they chose the bulldog, I'm going to use the bulldog drawable. So I'm here, it's the IV dog, that's the image view. It has an image resource. Why did I do that? It has an image resource that I'm going to set, and I'm setting it based on a drawable resource called bulldog. When you have an image, the image file cannot have capital letters. It has to have small letters. It can have underscores. It can have numbers. It cannot start with a number. And the name of the resource does not have the .jpeg extension. So if it's .jpeg or .png or whatever it is, doesn't matter. You don't put that in the name of the resource. Okay, so if they said bulldog and they're using this sort of arrow notation here in the when, so if they chose bulldog, we're going to set the IV dogs, set its image resource to our drawable bulldog. Boxer, same thing. And then I'm changing dynamically the content description. So the content description is for somebody who might be visually impaired. So they might have something that reads web pages and reads apps. And then this is for you to communicate with them. So you will describe what's in the image view. Okay. And I'm doing that dynamically right now. So I'm saying picture of a border collie or something. Yes. Is it? Is it? No. This is not a toast. This is for somebody who has a special application for. So somebody visually impaired will have a special application, and that application will have access to that information. But it won't be, it's not even a hint. Like hints, if you have a hint and you somehow, like, you know, if it were a web page, if you mouse over the hint, if you put your fingers over something on an app and it was giving you a hint, it would pop up. And you would see it. This is hidden to except for the people who have this special software running that will read the behind the scenes stuff. Because I was sort of looking for some, I was looking myself to sort of say, like, is there a way that I can show you that it's there? And I was like, no, not really. Not that I could see. Anything else before I move on to version 2? I don't like the big when. Why don't I like the big when? It looks clean. It looks nice. I mean, a when compared to a bunch of ifs, a when is a very clean, nice structure. But how many breeds of dogs are there? 50, 100, there are a lot. I only have 10 here, but there are a lot more than that. And this would look like a big, obnoxious thing. I want to write the code so that you can add to your array the dogs and add the pictures of the dogs, but not have to change this code. But I'm going to rely on a naming scheme. The dogs over here so here's border collie. And here's here's border collie. So I had the name, but my resource names don't like capitals. So I'm going to have to take this string and I'm going to have to get rid of capitals. These resource names don't like spaces. So I'm going to have to get rid of the spaces. In my resource names, I have underscores. So I'm going to have to I'm going to have to lower the case. I'm going to have to replace spaces with underscores. And then I have the name of the resource, and then I can get the resource from its name. So this is nice and clean and understandable, but it's not very scalable. It's not very extensible. It's a lot more work if you add dogs. You're always going to have to update the array, and you're always going to have to make sure you have the pictures in drawable. But in the second version, you're not going to have to touch the KT. And so that's my goal, is to have the second version where I don't have to touch the code. All right, so that's what's coming. Let's go get it. Here's dog 2. All right, Activity main, that's the XML, that's the design, that's not changing. It's still an image view and a text view and a spinner. And all the dogs are already in drawable. And strings is the same array of dogs. So the only thing that's changing from version 1 to version 2 is the main activity. So that's the one I've got to deal with. So here it is. And I'm going to copy that and paste it in, paste it, paste it, paste it. It's the KT, everything but the package, paste, save, and I'm going to run it. So stop it and then run it. And it's the same thing. There is, and oh, I added that it's a random dog. So it chose Beagle this time. And now it's choosing, oh, now it chose Dachshund. And I'll do one more. Australian cattle dog. Okay. So, all right. So how's version 2 go? This part doesn't change. Declare a spinner, declare an array adapter, populate the dog spinner, and we're working still with the resource array. Connect the image view in the layout to the image view in code. Set up an item selected listener. I still don't do anything down here when nothing is selected. What do I do when something is selected? I'm toasting out the name of the dog they chose because I can. Okay. But here's me getting again the name of the dog, Border Collie, and I called it drawable resource name. Then I used this method to lowercase. So now it's Border Collie with a small b and a small c. And then here's drawable resource where I'm taking a space and replacing it with an underscore. So now I went from Border Collie with capital B and a space between Border and Collie and capital C, and I'm making it small b and small c and an underscore instead of this space. Now I have my drawable resource name that corresponds to a Border Collie. I have Border underscore Collie, all small letters. When I try to get an ID from a resource name, so this is me, here's my set of resources, and I'm going to try to get the ID of the resource, and it's going to be a drawable resource. I need to say, where am I looking for the names? The package, one of your vocabulary words, that package thing is, it's sort of a folder. It absolutely is a folder that you'll see in your app, but it's also serves the purposes of defining our namespace. So you are going to look for anything with this name within the package, within our namespace. And so I could say here, what was my package? My package was com.example.dogday. So I could put down here that package, and I could say that's where I'm looking. I'm always changing my package names because I'm copying the code. I start off with a hello world and I start all over again instead of copying a whole project. My package names are always changing. So I wanted to get the package name by code. The package name is coming from the sort of context. So I'm saying, I've been dealing with the image view. So I said, get the context of the image view and then use that context to get the package. That's me because I'm always jumping around, jumping around, jumping around. If you wanted to just hard code a package name, then put in com.example.dogday. Okay, so I probably made life harder there than I needed to, but that's me. What can I say? Okay, so I'm going to the resources. I'm going within the context. I'm going to the resources. I'm going to get the ID of something from the resources. I'm going to get the resource of this drawable underscore resource name. I took border collie with a capital B and a space and a capital C, and I made it small b and small c and underscore. I'm going to look for that name in my drawable resources within my namespace, and then that's going to be the ID, and I'm going to set the image resource of the IV dog to that ID. That's going to show me the picture of the border collie. So this looks cumbersome, but you add 20 more dogs, I don't have to touch it. It's setting you up as a coder that you don't want to have to always be updating your code. You say the breeders come up with a new breed of dog, give me a picture of it, add it to my array, and I'm done. I don't need to touch this. And this is the hardest part. The other thing is just files. You can send, some low level lackey to sort of, throw another file, another image file into your folder. That's not hard. You can have low person do that, but you as the high level coder don't want to have to rewrite any code. And this is a version of the code where you don't have to rewrite it. Here's me choosing a random dog. I have a range of numbers starting from 0 because we have an array start at 0. And I'm going up to, I have a string array of dogs. It has a size. There were 10 dogs, but I only want to go up to 9 because the highest index is 9. So I'm going to go from 0 to 9. But again, I don't want to go from 0 to 9 and then somebody adds more dogs and then I'm wrong. So that's why, again, this long thing. And then I'm going to pick at random a number from that range. And then I'm going to set the selection to that dog. So I'm going to choose that one in the spinner. So that's how I'm showing the random dog. Are we okay? Any questions? Version 2. He's saying no, shaking his head. Anybody else?
Can you go over you said that you like made it smaller instead of like putting each individual.
Okay, so in the previous version, I had what I called the when, and it said specifically if it was, when it was bulldog do this, and when it was boxer do that. There was a relationship between these strings, like here, Old English Sheepdog, and these resource names. All the letters are small and all the spaces instead are underscores. Otherwise, it's the same. Okay. So this is me grabbing what the user chose from the spinner. And I make that, and this is just a name for it. I called it drawable resource name because I like long names. I don't know. This is me putting it in lowercase, making the B small, making the C small. And some of these, you got to watch these methods, these string methods. They don't always do it to your string. Sometimes they do it in memory to your string. And then this is me assigning that thing with the lowercase back to my string. So now I know that my string has really changed. And then I'm using replace which is another string method, and I'm replacing any blanks, any spaces with the underscore. So this first line took me from border collie with a capital B and a capital C to border collie with small b and small c. And then this line took me from border space collie to border underscore collie. So now I have the name of my resource. Those are the names of my resources, border collie. Doesn't matter how many spaces there were. Old English sheepdog, wherever the hell that is, had 2. That had 2 spaces. And that's working. So the replace is a multiple replace, that it's replacing all the spaces. Okay. There's always, context is just always weird, that you have to tell the computer, like, what is my context? Like, it should understand. I don't know, context drives me nuts. Like, it's the context of the app. Of course, it's the context of the app. But I'm going within the context, I'm going to the resources, and I need to find, what I happen to need is an ID, an identifier. Here's the thing I just made above, border underscore collie. Where should I look for that? Within the drawable resources. So it could have been a text file. I could have text files about the dogs where I want an image. So I'm looking in drawable for that, for this name, and I'm looking within my package. That's my namespace. So this part is always the same, and this part's always the same. And the context I'm just getting from some widget and asking for its context. And this part changes. Here's the part that changes. However I get my resource name, that might change. And then finally here in 46, I now have the ID of the border collie resource, and I'm going to use that ID to set the image resource of my image view. That's changing the picture to the border collie. All right. Any other questions for good version 3? Yes. Yeah, I copied my images and threw them into Draw, pasted them into Draw.
It's like you need to zip the file with, like, the person also needs to download the images.
They're going to need, so you have to do your own version. That's your lab project. So you're going to have to find some images. You're going to have to make sure your images obey Android's naming scheme. Small letters, numbers, underscores, can't start with a number. And you need to put them into drawable, in that drawable folder, in the drawable resource. You're going to need an array. You're allowed to work with a resource array or a code array. Either way, I'm okay with it. I've been working with a resource array. And so then you're going to need to make your array. And then you're going, and then you're going to have to make your layout design. So your layout design is almost my layout design, so you probably steal my layout design and add to it. And then you have to write your code. So I've been giving you images, so you're going to need images. I've been giving you the values or the strings XML, that's where my array is. If you work with a code array, you don't need to give me that file because you're going to send me code. But if you work with a resource array like I have, you're going to have to send me that file. You're going to have to edit that file. So you're going to have to find some images, load them up in Drawable. You're going to have to send them to me, or I can't run your program. You're going to have to send me the string value array if you work with the resource array. You're going to have to send me code. You're going to have to send me layout. Okay, So version 3, I'm just going to add dog colors. So the color of the dog, oh, a beagle can be brown or something like that. Just additional piece of information. So that's going to change the layout. That's going to change everything because that's going to change the layout because I'm going to display that information. That's going to change my resource because I need that information, and I also use that information as a resource array. And it's going to change my code because I need to get that new information into some new location on the interface. Okay, so I need, before I could get away with just changing one file, but now I have to change 3 files for dog 3. But this is I'm changing the most, but it's the easiest. It's much easier to understand this than that middle one was the hard one. This one's, the changes, you'll just say, yeah, obviously, that's what I should do. That's the old one. So here's strings. Here's another array of what we call a parallel array, and it's dog colors. So I'm going to go over to strings and make sure I'm outside of the string array and paste in another string array. And this one's called dog_colors. So that was my first change. My second change is under the spinner, I add another text view because I'm going to display those colors. So I need a place to display the colors. So Control A, Control C, come over here to the layout, activity main, put it in code, and paste that all in there. I already have my images from, because it's the same image, it's the same damn dogs every time. Okay. And then I need to change the code because I want the code to know about displaying the colors. Copy my code, everything but the package. Okay. So what's new in version 3? I'm bringing over my array. My array was a resource array, but now I've made it a code array. I've made a code array from the resource array. That sometimes makes my life easier. Why do something like that? Why not just make the code array? Well, it depends how you're working, and are you working with other people? If you're working with other people and they're not coders, but they're helping you, then if you work from the resource array, then you might trust them to update the resource, but you don't necessarily want them touching your code file. So that's a way. So making it a code array is nice for you as a coder, but that makes you responsible for the data. But if you separate it, it can make somebody else responsible for the data. So it's like a separation of chores kind of a thing. All right. So that's one thing. That's a new thing. Here's the new layout thing. So I had a text view. I called it TV dog color, and now here's the code version of it. Here's the image view. We had that before. Here's the spinner. We had that before. Here's the array adapter and populating the spinner. We had that before. Here's the texting. We had that before. Here's the drawable resource stuff that we had before. You asked me good questions and made me repeat it because it is complicated. Here's the new part. Make the text of the TV dog color, get it from the ith item of the dog_colors array. I have an array of dog colors, and a spinner gives me an index. And since I have an array and I have an index, yay, I have what I want. I get the element of the array. I did the random stuff that we had that before. So there's the very challenging code of displaying the text of the colors of the dog. All right. So an Australian cattle dog can be a blue or red speckle. It's gray to me, but they're calling it blue. All right. So you do your version of whatever. You like sports teams, do a sports team. You like movies, do movies. Just get me some images. Don't go nuts. Don't make your life hard. You've got to watch special characters over here. If you have something like a description here and it has quotes, that can make your life complicated. So if there was somebody, this happened to somebody this morning, he had some, like, you know, John's color. I don't know what the hell that means, but anyway, this was throwing his program off. If you have characters like that, like single quotes and double quotes, you might have to use an escape sequence. So that's just something to be on the lookout for. So yes.
You know, you also apply the color for the third one. You apply the color of the dog.
Yeah.
Do we need to apply like something else to our image also?
You need to have two things. I have to make you do more than me. So you have to have your names of your things. So you need four things. You need the names of whatever. Then you need the pictures of whatever, and then two properties of whatever. So the name of the basketball player and the picture of the basketball player and the height and the position. Yes. Whatever piece of information you come up with. And if you were doing heights and you had little quotes and double quotes for like feet and inches, that's where you have to be careful, and you might have to have the backslashes.
How many items do you want?
Give me at least 4. Don't give me 100. Just because that's a lot of images and you have to send me the images. I can't make your thing work if you don't send me the images. Anything else for the recording? Yes.
So then we'll have like 3 arrays, one for the eight, one for, and 2 others for the 2.
Yes. Yes. We will do better in the future. Instead of having parallel arrays, we will start having objects with multiple properties instead of having these parallel arrays. So this is just like a stopping along the way. This is not our ultimate goal, but yes, for now, 3 arrays. So for one property, for names, I had names and properties, I had 2 arrays, but you have to have 2 properties, so you will have 3 arrays and a bunch of dogs. And you can deal with the images. You can have a 4th array with the image resource names. That's another way that you could deal with the image names. So I was doing my string manipulation, but you could just have an array of, sort of have a 4th array of drawable resource names. And that would be another way to work. Anything else before I stop recording?
Yeah. So how do you make sure that whatever you put on the string array for the colors, you specify that dog's color.
It's got to be in the same order.
In the same order as the,
The order is what matters.
okay.
That's what makes it a parallel race. So it's my first one is the bulldog. So that's red brindle, white or fawn. The Lhasa Apso, so I never pronounced that one right, is tan or gray.
Okay.
That's why we want to go to objects, because then the information, the related information will be together rather than this weird parallel thing.
Right, because I'm just thinking, I'm like, are you just having like the color from it and then?
No, it's a positional thing.
Okay, got it.
Stopping recording, anybody before I stop recording? You can still ask me questions, they just won't be on the recording.